So over the coming months and years, AI is going to be inescapable. You're going to hear about it in your personal life, in your professional life, and you want to arm yourself with some knowledge so that when you're evaluating the technology, you'll have some understanding of what the vendor is saying, how it works, and whether it could help you. So in today's video, we're going to do a deep dive into Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. So to understand the basic idea behind RAG, you can look at the document on my screen. It's the Yarrow Rangers planning scheme, which runs over 1,000 pages. So even though Google Gemini 2.5 Pro has what's called a context window of over 1 million tokens, essentially what you're seeing here is that you can't just send the entire legislation into Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude to ask it questions and answers, because it's too big. It exceeds essentially the memory of the model if you want, and that's where RAG comes in. So what I'll do is I'll start with a question, and as the AI is whirring away in the background, I'll explain what the Retrieval Augmented system is doing. So my question will be, I am about to submit a planning permit application. My lot is in the bushfire zone. So zone is a small technical inaccuracy. It's a bushfire management overlay, but the idea is AI shouldn't be so brittle that it breaks with small technical inaccuracies entered by the user. So that's why I'm using zone in this question. And my question will be, what documents do I need to submit with my application? And so as the AI is buzzing away in the background, I'll explain what a retrieval augmentation or retrieval augmented generation fundamentally does. And so it's taken the Yarrow Rangers planning scheme, it's broken it up into lots of little chunks, and then the first step is it searches to find the most relevant chunks. So to explain how that works, if I give a classic AI example, if you break up words and you, I guess, vectorize them, that's the technical term, essentially what can happen is I might be searching for woman, and then the search will be able to return document chunks containing the word queen, because it knows that queen is semantically related to woman. And so that's, I guess, that gives a sense of what the search is doing in the background. So it's broken up the document into a bunch of text chunks. It uses vector search to find semantically the most relevant chunks, and then it runs an AI query over the smaller chunks, which now fits into the memory of the large language model. So of the 1,000 pages you started with, maybe it's only 2 or 3 pages of text that are relevant, and then the AI will perform the query over that text. So that's the theory. I'll just move the camera a little bit so the answers can be seen a bit more clearly. And so it's come up, so the AI has come up with bushfire management statement, site plan, BAL assessment, emergency management plan. So what we'll do is we can just jump next to the legislation to see how it's performed against the actual document. So if we evaluate the answers against the actual planning scheme, so the planning scheme talks about application requirements. It lists 3 documents: bushfire hazard site assessment, bushfire hazard landscape assessment, bushfire management statement. So there are some more details around that as well. It's not as if you would just submit those 3 documents with every application. So in terms of, let's go to how the RAG system went. So it got one of them, which was the bushfire management statement. It also talked about bushfire attack level and an AS3959 standards. So again, looking at the planning scheme, those things aren't completely hallucinated in the sense that they do exist in the planning scheme, but the answers aren't quite what you were looking for. So as to how I'd evaluate RAG, it's helpful. It's better than a control F on a document, where it would be very hard to find these sorts of things, but it's almost a case of a little bit of knowledge can be a dangerous thing. So if you get partial information, or in this case partially incorrect information, that's where the flaws of these systems can come to light. And that's part of the point that I was trying to illustrate. So if a vendor comes to you and talks about retrieval augmented generation or RAG, in some ways you've got to balance what they're saying and treat that almost as much as it's a flaw as a feature. So because if it's partially incorrect, in some ways it might set you backwards. It might do more harm than good. And so to provide context as well, I've only spent about 15 minutes putting this application together. And again, that's part of the point as well, because RAG, to do RAG well, and I'm not saying that fundamentally the concept is broken. Retrieval augmented generation systems can work well, but they take a lot of hard work. And the main point is they'll take a lot of hard work understanding your specific domain and the nuances of your industry or your challenge. And so for solutions that provide, or that purport to provide, RAG solutions across finance, engineering, accounting, coding, those I would be wary of vendors making those claims, because as this example demonstrates, even just in the case of in the domain of planning permits, it's pretty hard to get a good system working in it, to master multiple domains. It's something that, as a potential purchaser, I'd be very, very wary of. On the other hand, if a vendor comes and they've said, look, we've specifically tailored RAG systems for, X domain, finance, engineering, accounting, then, I would, they, at least their approach seems a lot more cautious. It seems a lot more likely that they'll be able to deliver the output that they are promising. But as this simple example demonstrates, it still pays to be cautious. So you want to be evaluating the systems against your own documents. You want some test cases. You want to know what the expected result is. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to be doing as part of evaluating the solution. So hope this video was helpful. Happy to answer any questions, and hope this has taught you a little bit about what you should be looking for when you're evaluating vendors and all their buzzwords.